All right, welcome everyone. I am very excited for today's conversation. I'm joined here today by Seth Morris, co-founder and partner at Liberty Law Group. Seth, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me, David.
Yeah, so just to introduce you to our listeners, Seth is a longtime Nebraska resident, brought a very blue-collar work ethics from his early days in agriculture and construction, and since 2015 has been licensed in both state and federal courts, taking dozens of complex cases to trial, and now building Liberty Law Group with a team in Lincoln and Omaha. Seth, to kick us off, when you reflect on how Liberty Group started in August 2023, and what you and your co-founder set out to build, what was the moment when you said, okay, this is the next chapter? What was the vision behind that move?
Yeah, so I guess just kind of long term, when I applied for law school, my goal was to own my own law firm and to move back to rural Nebraska because, in smaller cities in Nebraska, the older attorneys are dying off, retiring, and nobody's moving back to replace them. And so I always knew that was the goal. And so the partners that I started this with, we were all at the same firm. And what really, I wanted to get that experience, kind of get enough time under my belt that I felt that, I was in the right position to lead a law firm and, run my own practice before I try to help other people run theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it really starting in 2018, I sat down with my boss at that time and we were kind of talking about 5 and 10 year goals. And I said, I'd like to work my way up to a partnership track. And he was very clear with me that, hey, that's not an option. It's just, there's no partnership track for you or for anybody. And so that started at that point, kind of the 5 or 10 year plan in my head of, okay, I'm going to get as much experience. I'm going to do great work and make a name for myself and then, go out on my own. And then so we would have started in August. I think August 7th of 2023 was our first date. Earlier that year, I got a call from one of my partners and they were upset about something that was going on. And they're like, why don't we just do it ourselves?
Yeah.
And, why don't we just do it? We can do it. And, we'd had conversations before and I was like, yeah, let's talk more about this. And then that, like a day or 2 days later, one of our other partners called me with the same thing. Like they were upset about something. They're like, why don't we do this ourselves? And I was like,
Yeah.
do you mind if I share that we had this conversation? Because, working at a bigger firm, you don't want politics to get involved.
Yeah.
So-and-so is looking to leave. And so by the end of that week, all the partners that, are with Liberty Law now were at my house and cooked up a couple racks of ribs and we hammered out, what this needed to look like. And so that would have been probably February or March of 2023. And then for me, once I made that decision, it's okay, how do I make this a reality? Met with my mentor out in California, what help me with what I don't know, right? Because I've never been a law firm owner and put in my notice in July and, haven't looked back.
Wow. How has it been? I'm assuming starting a new business. We've talked with other lawyer entrepreneurs as well, and a lot of them getting into it, they're very excited, and then they realize, oh, so some of them realize, I just want to be a lawyer. I didn't realize there's so much that's involved, and then they realize, oh, I'm actually very enjoying this, the entrepreneur side as well. But I'm sure you experience your ups and downs as well.
Yeah, so I would say, it was easier and harder than I could have imagined.
Yeah,
So, the hardest thing was just ripping off the Band-Aid and just taking the jump.
yeah.
And then, there's all these little things that you're learning. But the way I look at it is these are good problems to have, and they're problems that I choose,
Mhm.
right? If tomorrow I said I don't want to do this anymore, I could make phone calls to any number of firms and go back to just being a lawyer, right? So any issues as far as hiring, marketing decisions, personnel decisions, all of those things that come with the business side of it, those are problems that I'm fortunate to have by being in a position to be one of the owners of a growing law firm. And so I kind of look at it as a blessing
Yeah.
because these are all problems that I'm fortunate to have. A lot of people, wish that they were in my shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially that you're starting a firm in a rural area. My mother-in-law is actually legal assistant in a rural law firm in Iowa. And like you said, the same thing in Iowa is that older attorneys are retiring, getting away from law, and newer, younger attorneys don't want to go there. And it's such a she really calls it a legal desert that they're burning out with a lot of casework because there's just not enough lawyers in rural areas. So I'm sure that played, like you already mentioned, that played a lot into your decision of, and you're helping a lot of people running a smaller scale law firm focusing on rural area rather than big law.
Well, so we're based in Lincoln and Omaha, which would be the two largest metros in Nebraska. I mean, if you're listening to this from the coast,
Right.
you don't think Lincoln's 250,000 or so,
It's very big.
and
Yeah.
Omaha, the Omaha metro is around a million.
Yeah.
So we're in the two biggest things, but I have cases all over the state. I'm from about an hour and a half northwest of here, and so I still get back there frequently to help clients, and a lot of those just come to my cell phone. One of my recent cases, the a client played cards with my grandma at the Genoa nursing home.
Yeah.
And so, got to call the one lawyer they know, and that's me. And so, it's just fun how life works.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, your commitment to, and on your website, you also talk about that commitment to clients. You mentioned being 20 available 24/7, delivering high stake results and treating everything with a team-based approach. So, as you scale that model across your Lincoln and Omaha offices, and you mentioned you're scaling, what have been the biggest operational bottlenecks been? What processes are showing stress first as you grow?
So, I mean, the biggest thing for me is prior to starting this, I'm more of an idea guy,
Yeah,
right? And an idea on paper is worth nothing, right? So you have to execute. So, if we're going to implement this new software for case management, it takes a lot of time and effort by multiple people to make sure it's implemented, that people are trained, that people understand how to use it. That way we just don't have files floating around and all of that. And thankfully, my the two partners in Omaha, Matt and Eric, they're both Marine veterans, and so they're very good at the implementation and the execution side. And so they've held me accountable. Like, hey, you said you were going to do this. Where is it? And so yeah, it's just if you say you're going to do something, make the time. And so naturally that cuts into some of your billable hours and the amount of cases that you can handle. But it's all about getting the systems in place, getting the people in place, so that way we can have sustainable growth, right? We don't want to grow too fast and be understaffed. We don't want to be overstaffed and not have enough attorneys and now people are bored.
yeah,
And so it's just trying to forecast and build it the right way, brick by brick. And I don't know if we've had any huge insurmountable barriers. One thing that always takes a little longer than you think is hiring the right people and making sure that they're the right fit, because you just have to make sure, all right, this person is going to be representing us in court. Do they have the skills? Do they have the demeanor? Do they have the dedication to do a good job and make sure that they can kind of carry
yeah,
the brand of Liberty Law into the courtroom with them and do a good job for us.
yeah. And retention as well. After you train somebody, you have to worry about the retention part because you've invested all that front loading of the knowledge and training now.
Yeah, and we've had those discussions, and one of those things is not everyone's going to be here forever. And obviously there's different things. We've had hired some people and things have happened in their personal life and they couldn't be here. But the main thing is what's your work ethic, your dedication to the team while you're here.
Mhm.
And we want to maximize that. And over the course of doing business, if you treat people right and you do the right thing, the results and everything else will.
Yeah, absolutely. And when interviewing with other lawyers as well, when I think about law firm as well, if we look at a pipeline that you build, generally it's there's the client acquisition stage that includes marketing and stuff like that, and then there's the document request, document reviews, and intake, hearing the stories, and then you build your timeline and build your case. and then depending on if it goes to court, this and that, the timeline is very different. And then at the end, after the case is resolved, you go through billing. Um, how have you been improving? You mentioned a little bit earlier as well of your idea guy, and you've been building this efficient pipeline to streamline things, to stand out from other law firms, and to save, honestly, to save the client's billable hour time as well and increase their quality. So how have you been building this efficient pipeline from the initial client acquisition to the final billing and closing?
Yeah, so part of that is just make sure you have the right software so people can do their job efficiently. Hiring, because if you have a great paralegal and we have great support staff, they can take a lot of that weight off of our shoulders and save the client time and money, as far as turning things around. We're looking at different options as far as AI is the new sexy buzz term,
Yeah,
and one of our things is how do you maintain confidentiality? How do we make sure that you're not just signing off and someone's got to still at the end of the day
yeah,
check to make sure that the AI was right.
human in the
And
loop.
yeah, and so you see, like I was just reviewing discovery in a case today, and it was cell phone evidence, and they had some new AI feature on the Cellbrite program,
Yeah,
and it will say what it believes like the subject in the photographs or videos are, and
yeah,
it's only like 50% right.
yeah,
It was like, all right, here's pictures of drugs, and some of it's just like garden plants, some of it's just not like anything at all. Money, and it would just be like random like Amazon packages that it would identify as like money, and it's like, well, it's just kind of those papery Amazon packages.
yeah,
And so yeah, so you want to make sure that you have the right systems in place, as far as the client's contemporaneous billing. You want to make sure you're doing it as you're actually performing the work so you don't over or underestimate.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then, just part of it in terms of saving the client's money just comes with experience.
Hmm.
So I've got a couple cases right now in Lancaster County where we may kind of have an off ramp into diversion and stuff like that. I have the evidence. I have 10 hours of stuff I could go through,
Hmm.
but before I dive into that, let's make sure we're not going to take that off ramp, because I know you work hard for your money. I don't need to spend the next 5 hours going through this evidence if we're going to get you into diversion and the case is going to be dismissed.
Yeah,
And so some of that just comes with the human element of knowing here's where we're at, kind of here's where this could go. And if we could get you into this kind of
yeah,
off ramp problem solving court situation, me spending 5 hours in discovery doesn't necessarily help.
yeah. And what I've been hearing from other attorneys as well, and what I've observed is that especially in today's AI age, experience is even more important. For experienced attorneys like you who, went to law school and did work before AI, and they know they can see what is right, what is wrong. There are two components to that. First is that they can train better AI in-house AI models, and second is the human in the loop component. They can really, um, you know, be the gatekeeper to make sure things are not wrong versus some lawyers talk about inexperienced attorneys who started to use AI when they were in law school. That
Yeah.
would be a different story. That's they,
Yeah, it's a completely different world for these younger people, right? You can chat GBT an essay right now, and you get a 500 word essay on rare bats in the Amazon rainforest,
yeah,
and not have to go through the work to do that. And so, yeah, it's completely different. But also, I benefited a lot from technology,
yeah,
right? When I was in law school, we had Westlaw Next had just rolled out, and that was basically Google for cases.
yeah,
You could string together words and refine that. I didn't have to go to the books. And
yeah,
so every generation has it a little easier, but it's still like I like that term that you used earlier of kind
human
of
in the loop.
closing, yeah, humaning the loop and adding that, because at the end of the day, one thing that as a small firm I firmly believe is going to set us apart
Yeah,
is how we treat people and how we create a client experience.
yeah, the client's journey.
Because you can go to any of these huge nationwide law firms, and maybe the result would be the same. Maybe we do better, maybe we do worse. I don't know, right? We can't tell. But we can control the people that you work with, the communication that you get, understanding your story, and working our tails off to get you the best result at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, um, that really brings up the huge difference between a generic AI versus a in-house sort of trained by experienced expert, because um, an AI system that's trained by the experts, sort of like a shadow of the expert. You first feed it with your own law firm's knowledge source, and then every time you make some adjustment while you're making judgment in the loop as a human, it learns. Versus if you just tell your client to go on to ChatGPT, policies are changing and every case is different. It really, the generic information can be very, very wrong. And that's when all the bad reps come in for the AI hallucination and everything.
Yeah, and you never know where AI is pulling their information from, right? And so I mean, we run into it frequently, as I'm sure any other lawyer, doctor, veterinarian,
Yeah.
school teacher, anybody. Well, I went on Chat GPT and this is what it says, and I'm like, well, that I don't know where it pulled it from, but
Yeah.
here's the Nebraska statute that defense isn't available, or this is
Yeah.
a different level of crime, or this. I don't know where that information came from, but unfortunately, it's incorrect.
Yeah.
And so that's,
Yeah.
I'm sure any professional is dealing with that every day of the self-taught, Chat GPT professionals.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially that many bigger classic softwares like Nexus for Law, when AI Wave came, they pretty much wrap their existing product with an AI feature so they can be part of it. And they're a lot of times very wrong and not efficient because it's basically, they put a ChatGPT feature into the existing system rather than from ground up an AI product. But I did notice that, whole pipeline that we talked about from client acquisition to closing. And if we start with client acquisition, I did notice the 24/7 chat that we have on your website. How would that work? How would the client journey start going into that chat and go through the initial intake and initial consults and triage decisions and case management? How would it start from there?
Yeah, so if you would come through the website and use the chat, that is not staffed by an attorney. They get kind of location, right? Whether you're in Nebraska, Iowa, whether type of case, criminal, personal injury, whatever,
Mhm.
phone number, contact information, and then that comes in, and then we get it out to the right attorney as fast as we can. Our goal is because I mean, statistics show, I think as high as 50% of people hire the first lawyer that they talk to. And
Yeah.
so, I look at it as if we don't answer that call, if we don't get to them right away, they're in the active trying to solve their problem phase of the client journey.
Yeah.
If we don't get to them, they're going to our competitors.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter, and this is something as an attorney, you have to remind yourself, it doesn't matter on the criminal side, whether this is a shoplifting or whether it's a murder case. This is the biggest problem in their life. And our job is to help give them hope and a plan through it, right? And we can't guarantee results, but we can guarantee that we're going to communicate. We're going to review all the evidence and get you the best outcome possible in potentially difficult circumstances.
Yeah.
So, it starts with making that human connection as fast as possible.
Right. And it is, like you said, the whole life situation that's on deck right now, and whenever there's a case. And besides, there's that eagerness for clients that we need to talk to a lawyer right now, and whoever, like you mentioned, that whoever I talk to first, I want to work with that lawyer. And we also talked a little bit down the pipeline. We talked about using AI to sort of maybe make an initial draft or to recognize evidence to analyze the documents received and all that. Another thing that we've been hearing from doing these podcasts are clients, they are eager for updates and they will want to call you a lot and they want to talk to you, the attorney. And there's one attorney on the podcast said that clients sometimes don't realize I could either right now be talking with you on the phone or be working on your case.
Yeah.
So
It's yeah. And so sometimes, I mean, it depends because I mean, everybody's unique.
yeah,
And so just want, some people just come to me and they're like, all right, this is my problem.
yeah,
Here's my retainer. Take the baton, run with it. Call me when you need me. And then there's some people that just, generally they're a little more anxious.
yeah,
A lot of times they've never been in trouble with the legal system. This is the first time they've needed a lawyer for anything, and so they want to kind of be in the loop more. And part of that is just understanding what your client needs. And so, you know, there's some people I'm going to talk to twice a week.
yeah,
There's some people that, hey, they're going to call me a week before court, and if we don't have court for another 6 weeks,
yeah,
it's, hey, call me when there's an update. And that just comes with the experience of trying to understand what's going on in your client's life, what are their concerns, and just giving them that component of what do they need. Because some people getting that weekly update, they hear from me and they think the sky is falling, that everything's going wrong. I'm kind of the boogeyman. Well, my lawyer's calling me. What's wrong today? And so you just kind of got to learn to navigate that with people.
yeah,
And so for me, the best thing that I can do as far as marketing,
yeah,
I have always viewed it as treat my current clients like my grandmother, right? Like I want everybody now to get that 5-star service.
yeah,
Any other, my cell phone is my best marketing right now because people just call my phone directly and I answer the phone every time. So I'm on every spam call list there is. But I just pick up every time and, oh, I got your number from David and you helped him out 3 years ago.
yeah,
And that's to me the best marketing and the best use that I can do is make sure I deliver good results for my current clients.
yeah. Which,
Because if we can't deliver on our marketing promise,
mhm,
then what does it matter? Right?
right?
If we just get 100 one-star reviews, that doesn't help us at all, right? Well, these guys have great TV ads, but they don't deliver on it. They don't show up to court. They're unprepared. They don't know what's going on. They don't know my name.
Yeah,
If you don't deliver on what kind of your promises in marketing,
yeah,
that's the biggest kind of loop in there is you have to fulfill on your promise.
yeah. And that's sort of like the trade-off that all that legal, lawyer entrepreneurs have to think about is how, running a law firm, you want to scale, you want to, you know, like you mentioned, you hire and you scale. How would you scale but still keep that white glove experience?
So that's where it's so tricky.
Yeah,
Thankfully, right now, so we're at 9 attorneys right now. So we still have a lot of contact with any of our associates, right?
right,
The partners are still there. We're still small enough where we're still in that kind of rah phase, right? We're a new firm. We're all rowing in the same direction. But I've seen at other firms as you become more corporate and more removed, and there's all these decision makers. How do you keep the culture? And so, the big thing is for the time being, really making sure that we spend the time to train our current associates.
hmm,
Long term, it's identify who are the leaders, and they may be leaders based on their skill set, not necessarily have to be leaders based on the amount of years that they've been practicing.
right,
Right? Because just being a lawyer for 25 years, maybe you just want to put your head down, go to work, and do a really good job for your clients, and you have no interest in training younger lawyers.
right,
So it's identifying those people that enjoy that want to be in those roles. That's is how we're going to have to do it, in the next 5 years as we continue to grow is build that leadership team
hmm,
and get those people in key positions that are still emphasizing the culture, making sure that the work is done to our standard,
hmm,
and then holding people accountable to it.
yeah,
Establish those KPIs, and you inspect what you expect,
yeah,
right? And so make sure that, hey, if we say that this and this are important, that's how we're going to uh, you know rank you, for lack of a better term, or hold you accountable, like
yeah,
you know getting back to calls,
yeah,
taking leads, like all of those things are, we want to be a trial law firm. How many cases are you actually trying?
yeah, yeah,
You've got to track those things and just make sure that every step of the way that you're still reinforcing the culture that helped us grow from just a couple attorneys to now over doubling in size. If we do that again, just, that's going to be the real challenge as we continue to grow. How do we keep that? Because that's, to me, the number one thing for us is focus on the clients, treat them right. Everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah, that is such client-centered and really, yeah, that's amazing. Well, I'm thinking that the for the it's almost like human in the loop. It's really, you're the idea guy. You build a system, even prior to AI, it's really, the KPI that you mentioned is you build this flow, this intake, this pipeline, from, a client goes from which person to which person, and then you build these touch points and KPI tracking, and then instead of human in the loop, it's manager in the loop, or the entrepreneur, the boss in the loop, to have different landing spots and those touch points where you go in and check the KPI and tweak things that's not wrong. And because you are experienced, you will know what's wrong. It's almost in parallel with human in the loop as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be, the real challenge as we grow. As any organization grows, there's just more people to manage.
Yeah,
We could be in, if we had the right opportunity, we could open a new office 100 miles away tomorrow, right? If the right opportunity came. And now how do you supervise those people that are over an hour away and you're only talking to them remotely?
yeah,
Because like with Lincoln and Omaha, it's a little over an hour from office to office.
yeah,
So yesterday I was in Omaha, right? You still see those people. We have that face to face, and
yeah,
uh, so that's just going to be a good challenge that I'm hopeful to have, right? Because how many people start a firm and they have the dream to grow and to kind of expand, and they just, for whatever reason, are never able to implement or execute on that. And
yeah.
so, good problem to have.
Yeah, it is. It is to still keep the value of hard work, honesty, and collaboration and all that while scaling. Good problem to have. Well, with that, you already mentioned a little bit about expanding the team and further strengthening the system. Looking ahead, your idea, guys, so using that, idea wand almost back to the drawing board. Next 12 to 24 months, if you could wave your idea wand, magic wand, to solve one major drag on growth, whether it's process or team or technology, marketing, what would it be, and what are you gonna do now to set that up?
So our next thing that I'm excited to implement, and that we're working on, is to bring intake in house to complete, because right now we're using an answering service, uh, and I'm able to work with them, and we can route calls, based on some simple things. But David may take this call, and then it's a different, so you don't know who's on the other side of that call, right? They're based out of state. And so, as far as streamlining calls and making sure people get connected, if we can't get somebody on the phone, they're scheduled for a meeting, those kinds of things. That's the next thing that we're excited to tackle, and we're actively working on that.
Yeah, that is amazing. To have the control, to have the manager in the loop for that process instead of out of control, outsource, and doesn't know who's taking the call and what's the quality like. Yeah, that feeds right into the high quality for the client's model.
Yeah, because one, you don't want people to be on hold for 10, 15 minutes. Um, one thing that we run into is the answering service people aren't based in Nebraska. So maybe people don't know the county, but if you're in Nebraska, someone says, "Oh, I got a DUI in Hastings." Well, if you're from Nebraska, you can go, "Oh, that's in Adams County. We can get this to the right attorney and do it that way." Misspellings on Sarpy County, different counties, and so it's kind of confusing the way leads come in. And so for us, it's every time that phone rings, it took dollars to make that phone ring.
Yeah,
And so for us, streamlining that intake, not only can we provide a better experience for the client from the first time they pick up the phone,
yeah,
but we can hopefully get them on the phone faster, solve their problem, and bring them on board as a client.
yeah. Well, I can imagine if somebody's from Norfolk and calls and the out of state receptionist at Norfolk, they probably hang up right away.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, so it's just knowing those little things, because what can be confusing is, I'm in the city of Lincoln. There's also a Lincoln County. So
Right.
then calls may be rerouted, improperly, and I'm like, oh, you're in North Platte. That's 3.5 hours west.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a jaunt. And so there's just a lot of advantages to us being able to, from the outset, provide a better level of service by bringing that in-house.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay. Well, finally, what will be your advice to, as an experienced legal entrepreneur, what would be your advice for other law firm founders, partners who want to solve scaling operations, or who aspiring legal entrepreneurs who are thinking about leaving a big law to start a law firm? What would be your advice for them?
Yeah, so I guess anyone that's, with a small law firm, the nice thing is there's a network of other attorneys who are dealing with the same problems, right? So you can deal with mentors who've solved these same problems. And if you can't find a mentor locally, there's different groups and organizations that you can look into that may be able to help solve those scaling problems or personnel problems, whatever that would be. To anybody in the position that I was 3 years ago, the hardest part is just ripping off the Band-Aid.
Right.
Uh, and then, from that, staying curious, being eager to learn, the things that probably made you a good lawyer
Hmm.
are going to help you in your entrepreneur journey.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've spent more time, diving into the weeds about SEO, SEM, Google, this and that, how do we do that,
Yeah.
than I ever imagined I would.
Yeah.
But that's a problem that I've chosen to undertake, because I realize on the other side of that, if we rank high in SEO, here's the benefit. Here's how we can be efficient with our use of ad spend, and all the marketing stuff is really where I've spent a lot of time. We have a good team of people that have different strengths.
Yeah.
And so that's great for us, as we have 4 partners, but each have different strengths, and we rely on each other and hold each other accountable.
Yeah. That is amazing. That's such wonderful advice. I hope lawyers are listening to Seth right now. It's wonderful advice. Well, thank you so much for being here and joining us for this episode, Seth. It has been really valuable, from learning about your entrepreneur journey to your operations and your advice to other fellow attorneys.
All right. Thank you, David.
Thank you.